What's up, everybody? Hope everyone is having a great Friday night, staying safe. If you're in the South Florida area, please take care. You know, there is a potential hurricane, tropical storm on the way. So many blessings to you and your loved ones out there in the South Florida area.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
tonight, I got a very special guest. Brad, please introduce yourself, man. The people love you. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Paul? Good to be back, man. Brad Tejeda. You guys know me on Twitter. My new handle is at TEJEDABRAD. Had to create a new social media account, but I'm back talking some Canes football, of course, and we got some big news tonight and tomorrow. So we'll discuss
Definitely,
some of that.
Brad. Oh yeah, we're gonna get into recruiting. A lot of great topics to get into. Hey, Brad, schedule just came out. Everyone's talking about Miami adding Clemson to the schedule. What are your thoughts about the new schedule and the new teams that are coming on board?
Um, Honestly, I think we needed it, man. We've hyped up this team all off season. I think everybody's starting to believe in the hype, especially when you look at recruiting right now. We are definitely probably the hottest team on the trail right now. Maybe besides North Carolina, your typical Alabamas, and other schools. But we got to, if you want to be the best, you got to play the best. And based off all these players that are on the team right now and the recruits that we have and that we're bringing in, I could honestly tell you these kids are ready, man. They're not afraid of competition. This is exactly what we want. So
Yeah.
I think if we think we're gonna go to the ACC championship, why not play Clemson early? And worst case scenario, we play them again at the ACC championship, hopefully.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely going to be interesting. The thing I'm more curious about is, Miami has to play 10 conference games this season. We usually play 8. There's 2 extra conference games and it's back to back. Miami, I don't think they've ever, had to face this many conference opponents consecutive weeks. So, do you think does this kind of, make you want to change your prediction on the season? What's your take on the
So
2021 season?
So I actually, good question. I actually got a few takes on this. First of all, big ups to the Pac-12. Obviously, everybody has seen SEC, ACC came out recently with their schedules. What's up, Anthony? They came out with their schedules. The Pac-12 just released theirs today, and they were so detailed and so, I mean, they clarified everything from the jump. Every single team, who they're going to play, the date, if it's versus or at. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And going back to your question, I honestly think it really depends on who we play. If it's a back-to-back, like the last thing I would want is have to play North Carolina and Clemson back-to-back, something like that. It also depends on the bye weeks as well. One thing I thought that was interesting as well, the Pac-12 that just released their schedule right now, they are going to be starting football, I think 2 or 3 weeks after the ACC starts. So that's also pretty interesting. That's also going to come about is where the buys are gonna land. But I'm a little disappointed in how the ACC handled Notre Dame. Let's go to our old rival Notre Dame. I thought it was honestly not a good idea for Notre Dame to join the ACC. I thought I was one of those diehard Cane fans where we should have left them out to dry, to be honest. They wanted to play the NBC hardball and have their own conference. So I didn't like them joining the conference. But the fact that they joined our conference and didn't get to play us, I want to go very detailed into that because I think a lot of Cane fans aren't understanding this yet. And maybe throughout the season, if everything plays out well, we might be looking at this question. And that is, we don't play Notre Dame. Notre Dame doesn't play us, but we pretty much have the same similar schedule after that. We both play North Carolina. We both play Clemson. Let's say we both lose to Clemson, okay? We both end up only having one loss at the end of the season. What makes you think that people will not pick Notre Dame over Miami with both one loss as far as going into that ACC championship to play Clemson? That is where I think the ACC dropped the ball. I think Notre Dame kind of just paid their way in and was like, hey, we're going to give every ACC team a chunk of this NBC money, but I don't want to play Miami. We saw what happened a couple of years ago. They destroyed us at the Hard Rock. the last thing I want to do is play Miami coming into the ACC. So give us the easy way out. That's the way I felt about it. So going with our schedule, I think it really depends on the layout of who we play week by week and where these buys may land. You look at our away schedule. I'm looking at it right now. You got Clemson, Louisville, NC State, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest. That's a pretty tough away schedule. When you look at all the ACC teams, they kind of gave us a tough road, man. It seems like Miami's always getting screwed when it comes to this stuff. But you look at our home games, man. It looks pretty easy. If I gotta say, man, I'm not too worried about North Carolina, honestly. I think they're a little bit more hyped than people think, especially what they're doing with recruiting. But I think Sam Howell, he's a very great quarterback. But I think our pass rush and just the quickness and talent of our secondary is gonna improve tremendously, along with the linebacker core. The speed that we're gonna have compared to the past 3 years is gonna definitely help out in the passing game. So I at the end of the day, before we had this schedule, I thought the most we could lose is 2 games, and I'm going to stick with that. I think the most we can lose is 2 games, just going based off what we just talked about with the Notre Dame situation. The last thing I would want to do is have 2 losses and then sit there with a Notre Dame team that could possibly catch lightning in a bottle like they do from time to time. And with the easy schedule they have, not playing us, and they play Clemson, but I'm a little worried about that situation. But I think as long as we take care of business, we'll be okay.
Yeah, this new schedule, I am very curious, the timing of the opponents we play. For example, I don't think we're going to play Clemson week 1, but what if we get them week 2? Personally, I don't think we're ready. I think I need our cornerback group to get more reps. It's very inexperienced, not a lot of playing time. We do have depth concerns.
I want to be devil's advocate to that, Paul.
Okay, hit me.
So I personally think that Clemson getting them early would actually be a benefit. You look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Right. Obviously, he's going to be a first-round draft pick, top 5 pick. You look at what he did last year. He was coming off a tremendous freshman season. Hype was there. And you look at last year, he started off pretty slow, along with the whole Clemson football team. They started off pretty slow. And then you look at what happened with Florida last year. We had so many mistakes against Florida. I mean, you talk about all the sacks, the miscommunication, the drop touchdown, the turnovers that we were getting, the missed penalties. That Florida team, you look at that wide receiving group compared to our secondary at that point. We only had 3 or 4 corners playing that whole football team, that whole football game, where 2, that was their first time ever playing, which was to Corey Couch and Christian Williams. The fact that we were able to hold that receiving core to what we did as far as a defensive unit was amazing. And I think if we would have played Florida maybe later down the season last year, I think that would have been a different case. They were getting pretty hot later on in the year. You also look at, they had Felipe Franks when we played them. Now they had Kyle Trask. So the offense changes a lot as well. So going back to Clemson, I think we got to play him early, man. You look at a guy like Derek King. You were talking about getting some reps under the quarterback's belt. I think this is what helps us. I think we already have a quarterback that's had reps under his belt. I think we have a quarterback that is proven. Not only do I think that, but I think most of college football right now, with him being a Heisman candidate, Maxwell candidate, I want to play Clemson early. I want to see very early how well this coaching staff does, how well these players are working in the offseason. And I want to see a measuring stick going forward throughout the season. I think that could definitely be a measuring stick to see how far away are we very early.
Before I give my take, 247 Canes, $10 donation. Thank you so much, man. He's been a subscriber since literally day 1. So thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate it for your $10 donation, just for your overall support of the channel, man. Thank you so much. Brad, that was a great point. If we do play Florida later on in the season, maybe we're more prepared. My whole thing is what I'm scared about. Let's say we get UNC, let's say week 4, we lose to UNC. Then we got Clemson next week. We're a streaky team. We win in group, in a consistent amount of weeks, and we lose in a consistent amount of weeks. So we're very streaky as a football program, as a team. That's one thing I want to see change. Like, hey, we drop a bad loss, let's say to NC State, let's say to a Louisville. Let's win the next game by 20. Let's make sure that's in the past and let's keep going. That's what Clemson does.
Absolutely.
When they lose to the Pittsburgh, when they lose to the Syracuse, everybody is freaking out in the nation saying, oh my God, the dynasty is over. No, it's not. They smack their opponent the next week in the mouth. And that's something I want us to do.
Absolutely. And I think it goes to not only the players, but the coaching staff. And I think now where you look at a guy like Rhett Lashley, he is one of those guys that he is going to have his foot on the gas pedal at all times. You're talking about we're going to be running double the amount of plays on offense that we were running previously, going to a spread formation. You're talking 60, 70 plays. I talked to Ja'Kai Clark the other day, and he was telling me that, man, you have to be a versatile offensive lineman in this system because you are running constantly. The more positions you are able to play on this football team, the better and more likely you will see the field. It's amazing the difference as far as the coaching staff that we had previously and what we have now. Ja'Kai was actually mentioning that just from last year to this year, comparing Butch Berry to Garen Justice. Butch Berry obviously came from the NFL, but as far as the way he coached our players last year, it felt like almost he was like a principal authority figure to where he kind of hovered over you at all times, to where he wasn't able to teach and be more hands-on with the kids. He didn't get that friend relationship. He almost just felt like the principal, like, hey, you're gonna follow these directions and that's it. Where I get the vibe with Garen Justice is he's all about these kids. He wants to know anything and everything that's going on in their life. He finds anything he can do to help these kids. I mean, he brought in Joe Thomas and Eric Winston previously in the last month or two to talk to this offensive line. So he's getting the right guys who are proven in the NFL to give these kids a little bit more in depth of what they need to do as far as on the field and off the field, whether it's writing down the right questions when a coach is talking to you or breaking down film differently. They were saying where before he would only write down the most obvious things that were wrong when he would watch film, where now after hearing what Joe Thomas said to the offensive line, he writes down everything. He writes down every specific detail to where they are going way more in depth with everything that they're looking at. And with the offense being so simple, it's helping everybody. So I think it's going to be night and day, man.
I'm glad that you said that you need a more versatile offensive line, because I see programs such as Western Kentucky, West Virginia, Marshall, North Texas, for example. They put up points. Texas Tech, like, I like to simplify things. You have a great defense. You have a great defensive coordinator. Hey, just bring in a good offense. Other programs that do not have talented offensive linemen, like Washington State, they have great offensive minds. You know, it is possible. You don't need to have the best offensive line, 5-star Wisconsin, to run a specific offense. You don't. You know, every offensive scheme is different for every offensive line. So get versatile athletes. And let's just play football, man. We're a fast program. We have speed in South Florida. That's what we're known for. We're not Midwest power football. So
and it's not hard to do, man. I mean, I've said this stat a few times, and I actually got it from David Lake. Great guy who brings up stats, man. There was only 2 teams in college football last year, guys, that had a quarterback to throw for 3,900 yards, a running back, and a receiver to have over 1,200 yards. That was LSU, obviously, and the other team in college football was SMU, which was Rhett Lashley.
There we go.
So, I mean, the year prior, I mean, obviously LSU and Miami, it's a totally different thing. I definitely understand that. It doesn't happen every once in a while, but it can be done. Okay, Ed Orgeron was not the head coach everybody wanted 2 or 3 years ago. He was on the hot seat. He was great on defense, but he could never develop that offense. That was always LSU's problem. What did he do? He went and found him a young, great offensive-minded coach. He got him a quarterback who was proven in Joe Burrow. You got a good quarterback, a great offensive coordinator, bring them together, and look what you got with LSU. You got a receiver in Jamar Chase that went from 33 catches, almost 400 yards in 2017 or 2018. And then last year he had almost 2,000, 3,000 yards with like 15, 18 touchdowns. I mean, it's amazing what a quarterback and an offense coordinator does, and we finally got him. So I'm very excited.
$20 donation from Mike Williams. Thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate all your support, man, all the contributions you made towards this channel. Man, I greatly appreciate that you take the time out of your day to watch my videos. So thank you so much, Mike. I greatly appreciate it. Brad, new schedule. What team are you worried about? Maybe it's a trap game. Maybe you think Miami it's a tough matchup.
I'm going to have to say probably Louisville. I think Louisville, surprisingly, I think Tutu Atwell, that kid in particular, I think Tutu Atwell, he always finds a way to play well against Miami. I think anytime we play another ACC or smaller school opponent and they have those one or two guys in the skill positions that are from Miami, they wanted that Miami offer and either they never got it or Miami just went elsewhere. Those are the type of guys that always tend to show out when we play them. And Tutu Atwell is one of those guys who will always take the top off. I mean, you want to talk about what we had in Jeff Thomas in previous years. Yeah, Jeff Thomas didn't really excel due to, unfortunately, the type of scheme we were running. And he wasn't just getting the balls that time, where you look at Louisville and they base their whole offense around Tutu. That guy is a playmaker. He's similar to Lamar Jackson as far as a playmaker in my ability. He could get the ball and go 100 anytime he wants. So I think Louisville could be a trap game depending on who we play before or who we play after, especially being on the road. But other than that, man, I think with the no fans, hopefully if there is no fans, I think games like Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, I think those are games that won't be as tough anymore.
Right.
Now, if we do have fans, I'm definitely worried of Blacksburg, Virginia Tech game.
Okay.
100%. Just because the atmosphere. That's not one of those places you go into and you feel comfortable. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, Louisville gave us the most problems on defense last season. You know, luckily we had our best offensive game of the year. So
Yeah.
the score was I felt like the game could have been a lot closer than the final score was. So Louisville is a team to look out for, no doubt about it. And, Blacksburg is another program. You know, Justin Fuente was on the hot seat. He survived. Had a great second half of the season. So, look out for Virginia Tech. Once again, Clemson, man. Hey, I don't know. Maybe I was there for the that beatdown without Golden. And I remember Brad Kaya coming in. It wasn't a packed house at all. It was fairly empty, and they just smacked us in the mouth. So it'll be a good test for our program, no doubt.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen. But I mean, here's my scenario. What if they push back the season, to spring? Or let's just say that COVID cases come up and they have to push the season back. You look at guys like what's happening in California right now. We mentioned a guy like Jake Garcia dipping a little bit into recruiting. A guy like Jake Garcia, who's from California, he is possibly foregoing his senior year in high school to enroll early because the state of California is pushing back their football season. So that kind of hurts him as far as his ability to get one next up on the college level. So now let me reverse that for guys who are already in college. You look at someone like Travis Etienne or Trevor Lawrence, okay? If they push back the season at all to where it kind of pushes it back to where closer to the NFL draft, you may see guys declare early. I mean, there was a guy at like Virginia Tech or some weird school already that has already declared and said, hey,
Caleb Farley.
Who was it?
Caleb Farley, a cornerback from Virginia Tech. He's projected first-round pick. So, that was a huge loss for them.
Correct. So, I mean, something like that. I mean, hopefully, I mean, I don't want – if I'm a diehard Cane fan. Obviously, I want us to win every game. But this is the year to me where I need to see it all on the field. I need proof. So, I want to play Clemson at their best. So, if it ends up happening, I mean, you look at Lawrence won't play. Etienne won't play. Justin Ross is already out for the year. And then you look at our side, me personally, I think the only guy that might sit out would be Greg Russo. I think Brevin Jordan personally, he is definitely a future first-round pick, but I don't think he has enough plays on film consistently yet. He's had a few injuries. I need to see him play a whole year. And then maybe Quincy Roche. But other than that, I see everybody staying, and we look like a really solid team. I mean, Derek King is one of those guys where he has to play. Right. There's NFL scouts already telling him he needs to play wide receiver. We heard that with Lamar Jackson, and look what happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the rest was history with Lamar Jackson. Plus, Derek King, I mean, technically, if he doesn't play this season, that'll be 2 years of not playing football. It's not what you want drafting a player. You want to get as much fun as you can get it with him. Regarding the season, Brad, I mean, we didn't have a spring. It's been a mess in the sense of just scheduling. No calls right now, guys. My apologies. Does Manny Diaz, can he survive a mediocre season? There was an ACC college football kind of professor, he calls himself, because he uses stats to come up with these predictions. And he said Miami will go 5-5. He also said Florida State will go 8-2. So, take that with a very small grain of salt. But do you think Manny Diaz can survive an average to mediocre season?
Well, first of all, Paul, when I know exactly what tweet you're talking about. As soon as I saw that stat, I immediately thought we were going back to a few days ago where the Florida fans were making fake accounts and acting like they were coaches and saying, hey, we don't need these Palmetto guys. I thought it was a fake account, honestly. I couldn't believe the stats.
Right.
But unfortunately, I think every coach in college football is going to get a pass this year. I don't care if Manny doesn't win a game. I think he's done too much as far as recruiting right now. Obviously, if we go winless, a lot of these recruits are going to jump off board. But there's no excuse, man. Eric just said it. Manny better win, and I agree. There is no excuses. Every coach, every team in college football is going through this pandemic the same exact way. There are no excuses. But I think every coach in football has a pass this year just because of the circumstances, unfortunately. But that shouldn't be an excuse for Manny Diaz. We have everything we need to be successful.
Gotcha. No, and I personally, I want to see the growth of this recruiting. Look at the players we're getting this offseason. Brad, where did all this recruiting come from? I mean, I think it just started off with James Williams committing out of nowhere. I know we had the Romello Brinson, Cameron Kitchens commitments, but
oh man,
we're gonna go over where the James Williams kind of interest took off from, and then to his commitment, because I was kind of blown away how great we have done in the dead period compared to other schools.
Absolutely. I mean, first off, with James Williams, talk about a bomb. The James Williams commitment, honestly, was jaw-dropping. I think I could vouch for most Cane fans. When we saw that, we kind of took a 10-second moment of just looking at the screen nah, this ain't real. Who took over his account? Let me make sure that's the real James Williams. You know what I mean? And going back to that moment, man, it felt surreal. It honestly felt like the Ed Reed hire. It felt like the Derek King transfer portal. It felt awesome, and you got to credit that to the staff. We go back four years ago almost, when James Williams was in 8th grade. You talk about Ebron Banda, Manny Diaz, and DeMarcus Van Dyke. They were on top of this kid since he was 13 years old, man. That was the first school to really look at him.
Wow.
And they stuck with him all the way, and it paid dividends. And D pointed out a very good point. COVID, the COVID. I mean, this whole situation that's going on, obviously it sucks, but it has done wonders for Miami. I can tell you right now, I had the Miami Northwestern kids on a few days ago. I had Khalil Brantley, Cam Kitchens, and Tim Burns and Corey Hammond on, and Cam Kitchens was one of those guys that was definitely feeling the SEC. I mean, he wanted to go visit Auburn. He wanted to go visit Georgia. He wanted to go visit some of these other schools. And unfortunately, he couldn't because of the circumstances, along with other schools. I think James Williams not visiting Georgia. I mean, well, he visited Georgia, and then next day he popped to us, which was awesome. But it's paying dividends, man. Manny's killing it. Coach Fields is killing it. I think the difference you're seeing is Rhett Lashley and his guys. Rhett Lashley, Garen Justice, and Rob Likens. Ja'Kai Clark told me that the two offensive coaches that we had that stayed from last year, which would be Coach Fields and Coach Eric Hickson, you can see the difference just between those two guys, the demeanor, the approach of how they practice now. They have a fire under them, a switch that they didn't have previously under Dan Enos, and it's paying dividends to not only those two guys but everybody on the staff. I mean, you talk about the staff. I mean, yes, we got Fields, we got Manny, we got Banda, but look at these guys in the background that we're finally get. I mean, you talk about Ed Reed. He's obviously our bag guy. I mean, all these colleges talk about dropping bags. Our bag is Ed Reed, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, there's not a school in the country that can call a 16, 17-year-old kid and be like, hey, man, you want to get on the phone with a Hall of Famer, with a guy that you could type on YouTube right now and you're going to be mesmerized and wanting to be just like him? That there's no other school that can do that. And then you got David Cooney, you got DeMarcus Van Dyke, you got Dominique Nwoku, who came from Georgia, who's killing it on these edits. You would be surprised of these kids. This younger generation really love the edits, man. They go crazy over this stuff. So I mean, you got Edwin Pata. The list goes on. Telly Lockett. We got the right group, and it's all starting to come together. I'm really proud of Coach Stroud. That was one guy that I wanted to see a little bit more of as far as the recruiting trail, and he's killing it, man. He's doing his thing. He's building a lot of connections with these guys. We just landed Thomas Davis out of Georgia, and I know for a fact we'll dip a little bit into the Palmetto guys in a minute, but Leonard Taylor, he's doing a very phenomenal job as far as building a relationship with Leonard Taylor and his mother. So that's really good signs.
No, and that's very key. I mean, how many times in recruiting do you see recruits kind of get sold on this car salesman pitch? You know, oh, we're going to take so much, take care of you. You know, we're going to treat you so good. You're going to get this, you're going to get that. And then like you step on campus and you don't get any of it. You know, they just want you to sign, come in, and then, you know, you're just treated as a number, as an employee. That whole family pitch, it didn't work out in that SEC school that you wanted to go to, in that Big 12 school. So, you know, it's Miami. It's close to home. It's a family. You have the strongest NFL alumni support you'll probably find in any other program that I can think of.
Absolutely.
It's just different.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Hey, Brad, you know, everybody wants to know about the Palmetto 5. Hey, I'll be honest, man. There was a time, a long time ago, I thought we were going to go 0 for 5. Corey Collier's announcing, Leonard Taylor's announcing. I don't know why. I'm getting hints from social media, from maybe DeMarcus Van Dyke.
The 5 tickets.
Coach Cooney. Yeah. Is Jason Marshall Jr., is he announcing in the next few days? Is that happening?
Or? So yeah, we'll go one by one. So we'll start with the big guy, Jason Marshall. So as far as Jason Marshall, he was supposed to commit tomorrow, actually, on the 1st. He anybody that follows recruiting, he removed that tweet, obviously. He's down to 3 schools that I'm hearing. It's between Alabama, Florida, and Miami. The thing with Alabama right now, let me get these guys' names so I don't mess it up. So here's the thing. Here's the thing with Jason Marshall, okay? He is obviously wanting to go to Bama, okay? And any top corner in the nation is going to want to go to Alabama just because of the track record. Nick Saban, I mean, guaranteed first-round pick. You look at guys like Patrick Surtain, Josh Jobe, guys previously before them. It's very hard to turn down Nick Saban. We're doing an amazing job of recruiting. Well, we just went 6-7. We got a few of his teammates right now, so we're very killing it. But he wants to go to Alabama as his first choice. Miami, I'm hearing, is his second choice, where we're very close behind them. Me personally, I think Florida is completely out of the picture. But it's gonna come down to 2 guys that I need a lot of people to look at, and this is gonna tell you the direction of where Jason Marshall might be heading if he doesn't pop before this. The 2 guys you want to look for is Kyrie Jackson. Okay, he's the number 2 JUCO corner. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He's originally from Maryland, but he goes to East Mississippi Community College. Okay, he will be announcing on August 15th at 6:00. That is one of Alabama's top corner prospects right now, above Jason Marshall. Okay. The other guy that they have interest in that they also want to put above Jason Marshall is JaQuincy McKinstry. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's the number 1 corner in the country. He's originally from Alabama. So, I mean, all signs are pointing towards Alabama. Being the number 1 corner in the nation, being from Alabama, you would think, I'm going to go to Alabama. He hasn't made an announcement of when he's going to commit. It could be any time, but the schools he's narrowed it down to is LSU, Auburn, and Alabama. If both of those guys go to Alabama, I will be very, very surprised if Jason Marshall ends up going to Alabama, just because you're kind of being the third option. I don't necessarily think he would be playing right away. Where me personally, if you stay home in Miami, you can play right away. In my opinion, I think Al Blades may stay his senior year. We can only hope. Being a diehard Cane that he is, being inbred in that Cane family, I think he would probably stay all 4 years, unless he just has a tremendous season and he's like a top 2-3 round pick. But other than him, man, I'm still not confident in some of these other guys. I need them to prove it, obviously. But getting a guy like Jason Marshall he's a big chip, man. It's been a very long time since the University of Miami has had a proven cornerback at a high school with the 5-star caliber that he brings. He's very similar to Patrick Surtain. So that's the two guys that you're going to want to look for Jason Marshall. So right now, if I had to choose, my heart's telling me Miami, but my head is telling me Bama. But UF, I definitely don't see UF being in the picture with that.
Interesting. And do you think, let's say Corey Collier picks Miami, Leonard Taylor, I'm not trying to jinx it at all. It's just like Andrew Ivins even dropped the crystal ball. Leonard Taylor's coming to Miami. UF insiders for 247 are saying the same thing.
Correct. I mean, when you got Steve Wiltfong dropping the crystal ball in your favor with a high 8, it's definitely trending towards us. Going to Leonard Taylor, it's obviously between Florida and Miami. In the past 5-6 days, I can honestly tell you, based off of everything I've seen on his Twitter, everything he's liking, and between the Gator fan base of what they're doing and shooting themselves in the foot, I can honestly tell Cane fans that I'm 100% confident Leonard Taylor's coming to Miami. If he does not go to Miami and he chooses Florida, I can honestly say this is the biggest troll in high school football. Like I mean, Avante Williams kind of trolled Florida. We kind of got trolled a little bit last year with the Romello height, but that would be very surprising. I got a couple sources that have told me that the only people that know is Leonard Taylor and his mother. And I know Leonard Taylor's mother is a huge Hurricane fan. She loves Manny Diaz and what he's doing with the program. I think as far as the scheme, Leonard Taylor fits better in ours. And if you look previously, I believe yesterday, the University of Florida just signed another D tackle who they said was the number one D tackle prospect remaining on the board in the state of Florida. So that kind of told me that they weren't looking at Leonard Taylor anymore. So I would go Leonard Taylor, 100% Miami. And then as far as Corey Collier, so Corey Collier is between LSU, Miami, and Florida as well. I think Corey Collier, deep down, this is a situation similar to Jason Marshall, what we were just talking about. Corey Collier is definitely wanting to go to LSU. When you look at a guy like Corey Raymond and what he's done at LSU as a cornerback coach, when a cornerback coach of a caliber like Corey Raymond is offering you a scholarship to play cornerback, that is telling you something that you are definitely someone of high caliber. I mean, LSU is no one to play with as far as DBU. They are real DBU, not Florida. So I think Corey Collier wants to go to LSU, but the problem is it's similar to Jason Marshall with Bama. LSU has hired guys on their board right now. So Corey Collier is expected to announce in 10 days. I am very interested to see what LSU does in the next 10 days. If they happen to sign another corner or safety, that could possibly help our chances or Florida's chances of getting Corey Collier. The problem that comes in with us and Corey Collier is a couple of things. One, he's a safety. Okay, so we have. Let me. Well, I wrote it down, man. We have. So let's not talk about this season. Obviously, you have Amari Carter, and Bubba Bolden, as your safeties this year, along with Gervin Hall. Amari Carter and Bubba Bolden, in my opinion, are going to be leaving after this year. Amari Carter's a senior. Bubba Bolden, I think, is going to be one of the best players on our football team this year. I think he proved a lot last year just in the few games he had, and his talent and caliber is phenomenal. I think he could definitely test well and end up leaving after this year. So then you look at our safety room. You have Brian Balaam, you have Avante Williams, you have Keyshawn Washington, and Jalen Harrell. Okay, you have 4 of those guys right there. And then you also have James Williams and Cam Kitchens. That is 6 safeties right there. Okay. I don't think we have enough room for Corey Collier as a safety. So my problem is if we're going to add Corey Collier, you're going to have to look at Corey Collier in the same situation as how we looked at Sheldrick Redwine a few years ago. We added him as a corner, and he ended up going into the safety transition.
Right.
Where I think we're going to have to do the opposite with Corey Collier. If we're going to take Corey Collier, I think he's going to have to be used as a corner just because of the lack of depth that we have at corner. My problem is, are you going to use one of your 3 spots remaining on a guy like Corey Collier, or are you going to try and go after bigger fish like Marcus Tate, Christian Lay, Tyreek Sapp? I'll mention another one that a lot of guys are forgetting. Terrence Lewis, 5-star from Miami Northwestern. He's had a few off the field issues. I know some guys on staff aren't really on the same page with him, but I think if maybe possibly we give him a chance to prove to himself and to this coaching staff this year that he can stay in a straight line, why not add another 5-star to the class? He is guaranteed to go to Miami if we offer him. If we gave Terrence Lewis the green light, I promise you he would be a Miami Hurricane. It's just whether to take the risk on a guy like that, because as we've seen in the past year or two, guys like that have kind of backfired. You look at Jeff Thomas, Jaron Williams, guys who kind of don't have their head on the right shoulders at times. But obviously a talent like Terrence Lewis, we talk about adding maybe 3 to 4 5-stars in this recruiting class. Terrence Lewis could be one of them. But me personally, I like what Manny Diaz is doing in the locker room. I think the linebacker core that we have right now and what we're building in the future with guys like Troutman, Corey Hammett, and Tyler Johnson, I think we're pretty good right now. And yes, Detroit Ortiz, yes, we only have 3 spots left. Well, the cap is 25, even though we're at 26 because of the Jared Williams and Isaiah Walker situation. One of those ended up counting for this class.
So we only have 3 spots.
Yep.
Leonard Taylor, let's say he's in.
Correct.
We got 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think this out. What I want to hear you out regarding Savion Collins. Then we'll get into the spots because that could open up a spot, or it may be sealed. It may just keep a spot. Savion Collins, if you guys don't know, 4-star defensive tackle, Miami Palmetto. It's been a lot of tweets. There was an article. I feel like there was a time where he was going to leave the class. He still hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on?
Man, unfortunately, it's like having a normal relationship with your wife or your significant other, man. At times there's miscommunication. These kids are 16, 17, 18 years old. There's a lot of stuff going on in their life as far as what they actually want, what they're promised. And me personally, man, I think the Savion Collins Miami thing was just a little bit of miscommunication. I think the ball was dropped somewhere in between, whether it was the coaching staff or something like that. But I do know that it seems to be patched. I know Savion Collins is in good spirit, and I think he's gonna end up staying in this class. And he's a plugger, man. I mean, if we end up adding Leonard Taylor and Savion Collins, I don't mind that at all. My guy Loso on Twitter, he super funny guy on Twitter, but he put up a good thing on Savion Collins earlier. He ran a 4.8 40 with a 27-inch vert. I mean, a guy like him, that size, that's phenomenal, man. You want to talk about, the versatility. That's awesome. I would love to keep Savion Collins, but talk about other guys on the board. So you got 3 spots left, right? So you Leonard Taylor, Jason Marshall. If he wants in, obviously he's adding. Corey Collier, maybe. The other name to look after is going to be Chase Smith. Chase Smith. That's who I would look for. Chase Smith could be a possible candidate. Mason Smith could be a possible candidate. Marcus Tate, who I mentioned, is committed to Clemson. There was a recent article saying that he's pretty firm on Clemson. They just added Dedrick Pennington, who's a 5-star offensive lineman. He just committed to Clemson a few days ago. So you talk about that's already 2 5-star offensive linemen that they added. and they're trying to add 2 more, and Tristan Lay and Nolan Rucci. So that would be 4 5-star offensive linemen that Clemson will be adding. I know Miami is involved with 2 of those guys, Tristan Lay and Marcus Tate. Tristan Lay and Marcus Tate. I know we're looking at them. Obviously, there's nothing really there yet, but I know those are 2 guys that we've reached out to, and those are 2 5-star offensive linemen that I would absolutely take in a heartbeat for one of those 3 spots any day of the week. So those are the guys to look for, and also Markevious Brown. I want to see if we have a cornerback spot. He's a guy that hasn't really announced yet. I know a lot of people are still asking about the quarterback situation. Me personally, if we don't get Jake Garcia, or I've heard some heat and rumors about Brock Vandergriff. Yes, D, Sapp me. I agree with that. Tyreek Sapp. Me personally, I saw him at Paradise Camp, and he was phenomenal as a junior. He was killing seniors left and right. But unfortunately, Tyreek Sapp, he is very patient. He is in no rush to announce at any time soon who he's going to commit to, which would be between Florida, Miami, Georgia, and possibly Alabama. But that's a kid that he likes the attention, unfortunately. So he has no problem playing the waiting game. But the problem that we're having is a lot of these schools like Miami, like Alabama, like LSU, it's a numbers game right now. Numbers are very crunched. We talk about we only have 3 spots left. Florida, I believe, only has 1 or 2 spots. So numbers are tight. So you got to be very specific on who you want. Me personally, I think this staff is going to go full force, and they're not going to worry about the cap right now at 25. I think they're going to go all in on every single guy that they think wants to be a Miami Hurricane. And if they want to commit, they're going to let them commit. And you could possibly see, if we catch lightning in a bottle and we actually end up getting Leonard Taylor and Jason Marshall, I think you may be able to see some big 5-star offensive linemen that we weren't considered to get, or a guy like Tyreek Sapp, like D say, commit to us as well. And we could be sitting at 27, 28 commits while the season's going, and either 1 or 2 guys we might have to drop, or there are some rumblings, it's just rumors, that because of this COVID situation, every team might get more scholarships. We never know. It's just a rumor. It's just something to throw out there. I mean, I know 85 scholarships is the number that people were throwing out. And if we're able to get to 85 scholarships, this situation that we're having right now with the 25 cap turns into 35, 40 guys. So we can do this all day.
No, that would be very interesting, to see what happens number-wise moving forward. Ideal situation, I think Leonard Taylor, Jason Marshall, those are your 2 guys you want.
Absolutely.
And so there's only 3 spots, right?
Yes, 3 spots.
Okay. So then you get Leonard Taylor, you get Jason Marshall, let's say. We're just, making predictions. You got 1 more spot. So it looks like we're probably not going to get a quarterback.
And
are you okay with that?
I'm actually really okay with that.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, I think Rhett Lashley, if you're looking at the recruiting trail lately, Rhett Lashley is already putting a lot of attention on the 2022 class. He's already throwing a lot of offers out there. I think he is not worried about 2021. You look at what we just did previously, coming off a 6-7 season. We just landed the best quarterback in the transfer portal, who is a Heisman candidate. What makes us think that we can't ride this wave, let De'Aaron King do what De'Aaron King does, and at the end of the season, we have a great year? We still have N'Kosi Perry, who's experienced, a Tyler Van Dyke, who a lot of people are high on. He'll be under the system for at least 1 year. And then you can bring in another transfer quarterback at the end of the year, and he'll be towards the 2022 class. I think you look at what Georgia's doing with Newman and JT Daniels. You got USC with Miller Moss and Jake Garcia. Georgia specifically, you got about 3 to 4 guys that there's no way all 4 of them are staying next year. You talk about, you got the 2 I just mentioned. You have Carson Beck, and then you'll also have Brock Vandergriff if he ends up going to Georgia. So that's 4 guys. I see one of those guys transferring. I mean, obviously Newman, I think, is this last year, but then you're down to 3 guys. One of those guys is going to transfer. I'm totally fine doing what we just did this past year and going and getting the best transfer in the portal.
Yeah, no, and a lot of people are high on Tyler Van Dyke. I mean, everyone I speak to is really high on him. The staff loves his abilities. So hey, who knows? Maybe
and don't count out Kosi Perry. This is the first time he's able to play in a system that he's used to. He hasn't played in a system like this since he was in high school, and that's what made him get the Miami offer. So
yeah, that'll be interesting. What happens under Rhett Lashley? How N'Kosi Perry develops, and maybe it'll be a great end of his Miami Hurricanes career. We'll see what happens moving forward. It'll be one hell of a story, I'll tell you that. If he does, do really well. So that would be very interesting to see what happens next season. Brad, this does happen. Miami has done it before. We do drop recruits. Is there any recruit that, hey, like they're not developing their senior season, or, like maybe they might flip on us, which does open up a spot as well, but it's recruiting. Anything could happen. So is there anyone potentially like, hey, like just look out for that?
So the one thing that really pops to me in this coaching staff is we're building relationships really good to where if you look at all of our recruits, Thomas Davis, who just recently committed to us, he was the first commit that we have in our whole recruiting class that has never touched foot in South Florida. Every other recruit that we have is either from Miami or has some type of relationship in South Florida. So between everyone being a Miami fan or growing up in Miami, and then most of those guys already locking it up, you look at guys like Thad Franklin, Andres Borregales, Khalil Brantley, everybody's locking up their commitments to where you don't have to worry about anything right now, which I think is a good thing. I don't see any guys really flipping unless we have a very bad year. Then I think you could see most of the Palmetto kids maybe leave and go elsewhere. But that's expected. As far as dropping, I'm going to be honest with you, Paul. The only guy I honestly thought we could possibly drop was Malik Curtis. And I thought that about a week and a half ago. Now I'm starting to backpedal. I've been watching a lot of Malik Curtis tape, and man, he pops, man. I don't know if he should be on defense. I think he's going to be more of a special teams guy. The guy I would compare him to the most is Travis Benjamin. He is electric. When he has the ball in his hand, he could go the distance anytime. His speed is eye-popping. I can't really see anybody, man. Honestly, I like everybody in this class. I think we're doing a phenomenal job. I think every 3-star in this class you might see going into halfway in their high school season this year will get that 4-star bump. So I think you're going to see a very good class.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about this class as well. Who's your favorite recruit in this class? Commitment.
I think the easy answer and the scapegoat would obviously be James Williams. But I'm gonna have to go with Cam Kitchens. I like Cam Kitchens a lot. After talking to him, the kid is very humble. He's very smart. He has a very, very good IQ for the game of football. A lot of people don't know, but even though he goes to Miami Northwestern, he actually goes to school at William Tutt. So he does all of his schooling at William Tutt, and then he just goes and plays football at Miami Northwestern. And they're very focused and heavy into grades. Got a very good head on his shoulders. And then when you look at his measurables, he reminds me a lot of a Kenny Phillips type of guy, Tyrann Mathieu. He's very versatile. He's a headhunter. And his play, his ball plays is ridiculous. He had, I think, like 7 or 8 interceptions his sophomore or junior year, which was crazy to think about playing in South Florida. But a guy like Larry Bluestein, who a lot of people who follow recruiting, especially in South Florida, he said before James Williams committed to Miami a few weeks ago that he personally thought that Cam Kitchens was the best safety in Florida. So I think that's very high praise. And you turn on his film, and you could definitely see it. So I'm going to go with Cam Kitchens.
I'm going to say Brashard Smith. I really like him, man, especially in this offense specifically. I don't know how he's a 3-star on 247 Sports. Some people say, it kind of reminds him of Jeff Thomas. I think this is the perfect offense if we're going to bring in a weapon such as a skill set that Jeff Thomas brought in.
Yes.
So, man, I'm excited. You can put him in a lot of places, Brashard Smith. A
I mean,
lot.
it's going to be fun to watch every position on the wide receiving group, man. We're about 3 deep at every, like, your X, your Y, and your Z and your
Which is
slot.
great. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about Brashard Smith, but then you forget about Xavier Restrepo, Mark Pope. I mean, these are all guys that are going to be playing that same role. Jacoby George. I mean, so we have a lot of guys in each position that are going to be able to make plays, man. I mean, and you're running twice the amount of plays in South Florida in that heat. You're going to need to be able to substitute some guys and not be able to have that drop off. And I think this is where you're going to start to see after a year or two, we'll build some quality depth to where when one guy comes out and another guy comes in, all you're going to see different is the number on the back of the jersey. The gameplay is all going to stay the same. And I think that's what we've been missing, consistency.
Brad, before we get into a Q&A, let's talk about tomorrow night's show. It's a very special show you put together, and we'll be going live on this platform. Yes. So please, we got 120 people on the live. Thank you, guys. Please let everyone know what's going on tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Absolutely, man. So, I mean, I love coming on your show. I love going on podcasts such as Fours Up, State of Miami with my guy John Michaels, Kane's Insight. I love all the podcasts that everybody's doing. What Caneville and X is doing on YouTube as well as far as recruiting. So I thought it would be a great idea for all Miami Hurricane fans to kind of get their opinion on everybody's favorite. So I decided to do a recruiting roundtable tomorrow night at 8 p.m. that we'll be going through on your platform. We'll be having myself, Paul. We'll have Steph Urkel from State of the U. Okay. We'll also have X from Caneville. We will have John Michaels, the GOAT from State of Miami. And then we will also have another GOAT of D Money from Kane's Insight, 2 guys that I look up to tremendously. Any Kane fan that follows any type of Miami relation, I mean, you talk about 2 guys like that, those guys bring it all the time. And then I'll also have my guy, Mike McCoy, as well, who does a lot of work for the University of Miami. And it's going to be phenomenal, man. I can't wait. We're going to go over our expectations for the 2020 class that's currently on the team, who we think is going to be a breakout player, who we want to see improvements from. And then we're going to dive right into 2021. We're going to pretty much answer any question any Kane fan has to offer. I hope to get a lot of insight information and a couple nuggets that we haven't heard anywhere else. So it's going to be awesome. It'll be 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely should be a great show, man. Great guests, D Money, John Michaels, got Mike McCoy, all these great guests coming on, man. You got X as well. So it really will be one of the best shows probably on this platform and maybe in general, having this amount of people come, at once. It's going to be 6. So that's a lot of, Kane's content creators. So
I tried to, I even tried to get more, but they were a little busy. My guy Roman from Orange Bowl Boys, he's still on vacation, so I wanted to let him live it up. And then my boy Gabby Urita, who's obviously a 24/7 insider guy, he'll be graduating on Sunday, so early congrats to him. So those 2 guys I try to get on as well, but unfortunately it won't happen.
All right, let's start off with the Q&A. Anthony has been dying for this question to be answered. You got it, buddy. About the Hurricane schedule the next few years, we continue playing Clemson every year on top of having Alabama, maybe teams like OSU, Oklahoma, and Oregon, and LSU. I don't know where the question is per se. We will be playing Alabama first year of the season. Then we do have Clemson coming up. Do you see us, I guess, playing more harder teams of that kind of eliteness in the near future?
Absolutely. To be the best, you got to beat the best. I think Manny Diaz and this whole coaching staff is bringing that mentality. And I think every player on this football team and every kid that they're recruiting is bringing that same mentality. I brought up the Miami Northwestern kids earlier, and I could promise you guys those kids are built different, man. We talked to them for about an hour about who you could possibly play in the next 3 to 4 years. Who do you want to play? You want to play in Notre Dame? You want to play at Florida? They said, no, I want to play Alabama. I want to play Georgia. I want to play the best of the best. They're ready for it, man. And I think that's what we need. We got to prove to everybody, not just ourselves, that we could compete with these guys.
Devod Wilson was in the transfer portal, was a recruit out of Miami Northwestern. Why did we not take him when we do need more corners?
So I'm hearing that with Devon Wilson, I don't think either we weren't interested or he was already pretty much sold on UCF. I think the Devon Wilson news right now, the reason why you're not hearing it is similar to when we signed Jared Williams from Houston a few months ago. Jared Williams was pretty much sold on Miami, but it really didn't get announced because of transfer paperwork, things like that, the back end of pretty much how to get enrolled in the school. I think you're seeing that with Devon Wilson. I'm pretty sure he's UCF bound.
I'll answer this one because we already went over it. What's the news on defensive tackle Leonard Taylor? Andrew Ivins has a crystal ball. Steve Wiltfong has a crystal ball. I mean, it's looking very good in our way unless change of heart, but I think it's a done deal.
Yep.
Brad, who is your favorite quarterback in the 2022 cycle, and who do you think Miami will go after?
That's a good question, man.
I say Zion Turner.
You know what? I would actually have to agree with you on that. I like Zion Turner. I think there's a couple other guys I have my eye on, but as far as 2022, I'm not really even looking at that right now. I'm focused on this year because I think if we have a great season, there's going to be some guys that we're not talking about right now that could end up choosing Miami as far as transferring.
Yeah, no, Zion Turner, he's a name to look out for. St. Thomas Aquinas high school recruit. Rhett Lashley likes him. I mean, he really does. And Carson Haggard is an under-the-radar recruit to look out for. He's 6 foot. He had a little bit of growth spurt out of Gulliver Prep in Miami. Spoke with his 7-on-7 coach, Jose Duaso. Speaks very highly of him. So look out for that name as well. Were you guys bummed we're not playing Notre Dame this year? Yeah, I was pretty upset. I mean, how about you, Brad?
Honestly, man, I thought it was a given. I thought if we were going to allow that team, Notre Dame, to come into our conference, I thought they had to go through us. I thought it was only right. I mean, it's best for both teams, in my opinion, and it's best for the NBC and the network. I think the most televised games would probably be the Miami Notre Dame game, or obviously Clemson and one of us. But I thought it was a given as soon as I saw that Notre Dame was pretty much going into the ACC this year. I said, hey, we're definitely playing Notre Dame. That's one of the teams. But unfortunately, we're not. And it seems like we got our work cut out for us. I talked about it earlier in the show. I would hate for Notre Dame to catch lightning in a bottle like they do from time to time and end up with possibly the same record as us. And it's going to be tough to pick Miami over Notre Dame and a lot of people.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the North Carolina game? Do you see us dominating, being that they are up and coming team? I'll say this. They're up and coming. They did go 7-6 last year. They were in a close game with Clemson, but they did lose to App State, to Wake Forest. You know, they're doing great in recruiting, but, you know, in a sense, there are some similarities to Miami. Have a great quarterback under center with Sam Howell. I believe a sophomore slump will happen with Sam Howell, but that's just my opinion. 38 TDs is a lot for a freshman. I don't think he can overcome it. I will say his offensive coordinator is a very good offensive coordinator, Philip Luongo. He was with Hugh Freeze down at Ole Miss when they had DK Metcalf, Laquan Treadwell, Chip Kelly. What's his name? Not Chip Kelly. Jim Kelly's nephew. Oh, okay. There you go. So that guy as well. So, Brad, what do you think?
4 names for you. Greg Russo, Quincy Roche, Jafari Harvey, Jalen Phillips. I don't see Sam Howell getting past those guys.
I agree.
I think I'm not worried about North Carolina. They got an offensive line coach and Coach Searles, who we're all familiar with. I'm not worried about his game plan. It's gonna be very hard for any team in the country to stop those 4 guys I just mentioned.
Nathan Bennett asks, if we get Marshall, we get Leonard Taylor, fingers crossed, will the staff pivot to a top-tier offensive line for the last spot?
Absolutely. I think if we end up pulling the juggernaut and getting Marshall and Taylor, I think the 2 guys I just mentioned, Trishan Lay and Marcus Tate, I think you could see those 2 names along with Chase Smith being some possible targets that we go after for that last spot. I think if we land those 2, if we end up getting the big fish and Jason Marshall, there's going to be another big fish out there that's going to want to join. It's the whole Jason Williams effect, man. He signed once James Williams signed. we were able to get these Palmetto kids' attention a lot more. It's a lot easier when when the big domino falls. It's a lot easier to get the rest.
By the way, Ja'Curry Brown, 2022 quarterback. I think he goes to the same high school as Thomas Davis. I could be wrong. He's the class of 2022, which is an hour and a half away in Valdosta, Georgia, from Florida State. But that's another name to look out for. So,
absolutely.
Brad, does Corey Collier have the athleticism to stay at the corner position at the next level, or is he more of a safety at the next level?
That's a good question. I brought up Sheldrick Redwine for a lot of Miami fans that are trying to figure out who he could be similar to. Redwine, we added him as a corner, and obviously he transitions into a safety. I think it depends on the scheme. Me personally, I think Corey Collier fits better in a Florida type of defense. I don't know if he fits as well in Miami's defense. I think Corey Collier would fit better at a safety position in our defense. But going back to earlier, man, we got too many safeties. We don't need another safety. But if Corey Collier wants in, man, that's the type of talent you don't turn down.
Right.
But Corey Raymond offered Corey Collier at corner. So I have complete faith that Corey Collier can do something at corner. I mean, if a caliber like Corey Raymond's offering you, you must be doing something right.
I read an article on 247 Sports. He's never been on campus at LSU in Baton Rouge. So just want to say, I mean, you being on campus, being not on campus, never seeing it, never feeling it out, two different things. But hey, it's his decision ultimately. Brad, who's your favorite offseason hire on offense?
Offseason hire on offense. I'm gonna go with one that nobody won't really say. Dominique Nwoku.
Okay, love it. Love it.
I love her edits. I got a few friends that do their own edits, and they do an awesome job. But when she drops her edits, man, it's clean, it's official. The kids love it, the fans love it. It's legit, man. She's definitely helping this program. I can definitely tell you that.
There's so many people to pick from. There's Telly Lockett. There's even Ed Reed. I'm going to say Garen Justice. You know, what you just told us about Butch Berry and what, you know, certain players did speak on his behalf about. It seemed like we were dead in the water recruiting wise. The players didn't really, you know, kind of blend with his personality. Bringing in Garen Justice, I think he's already done a great job in recruiting. Hopefully we can land Julian Admeya, 2022 offensive lineman out of Columbus. So, hey, man, if he can really change the game in recruiting, which he already has, bring in that versatile offensive lineman that we need to run this offense, that because we're going to be running constantly.
Absolutely.
Hey, I think we have something special at Miami. So I'm going to say Garen Justice. And then status on Jason Marshall. It's between Miami, Alabama, basically, right?
Yep.
And then,
I don't see Florida in it. And going back to earlier, it's going to be very hard to turn down Nick Saban, especially if you're a highly talented corner in South Florida. Most of the time, you end up going to Alabama or Georgia. I think if Alabama ends up putting his status a little bit to a higher priority, I think if they gave him the green light, he would jump to Alabama. So me personally, if you see Jason Marshall commit before Leonard Taylor, I would assume it's going to be Alabama.
Gotcha. And then remember, guys, tomorrow night at 8 p.m., going live on this platform. Brad set it all up, man. We got Kane's Insight. We got John Michaels. We got Mike McCoy, University of Miami radio personality for the students. We got a whole bunch of great content creators coming on this platform. Want to thank everyone for coming on this show. We had 120 people. Thank you so much. Everyone watching later, thank you so much. Everyone who donated, thank you very much. And Brad, man, thank you so much for coming on. Always does a great job. And thank you for setting this all up for tomorrow, man. It should be a great time.
Thanks for having me on, man. Thank you again for letting me come on. It's a pleasure as always, man. I love chatting with you. Can't wait for tomorrow, man. It's definitely. If they thought tonight was good, tomorrow's going to be very, very fun.
Just bring some popcorn, man. It's going to be a show.
All right, guys. I can't wait for the energy, man.
Hope everyone has a great night, and always all about the U.